If there was a way that you could invest in not only your own future, but the Earth's future as well, would you? In the present time that we live in, it is so easy to get caught up in everything that we are buying and not know how they are made and what they are made of. Many people do not know all of the harm that what we are buying is doing to our planet and to people. In this essay, I'm going to tell about some of the reasons you should buy from more sustainable brands. To do that, I will explain the negative effects that unsustainable brands are having on our environment, what effect they are having on people around the world, and what you can do for your part in helping with the problem. When you are buying something, do you ever ask yourself how you're getting such a good deal on something, or how a company is even making money when they are selling an item for so cheap? One of the ways companies are managing to make clothing and everyday things for so cheap is the materials they are using. Plastic, for example, is a material that companies can make products out of for very cheap, but with the cheapness of plastic comes a cost. When plastic gets put into an ecosystem, it takes about 450 to 1,000 years to decompose, depending on the type. Once plastic gets put into an ecosystem and takes this long to decompose, it can affect everything around it, like the animals and sea life. When plastic bags are put into an ocean where turtles are, the turtles can mistake them for jellyfish and eat the plastic bags, which can cause lots of harm to the turtles. When you are buying all of your plastic items, like bottles and bags, they are most likely going to be put back into the ecosystem and cause harm to wildlife. Another thing that unsustainable brands are harming is the people around the world. When these cheap items are made, the people who are making them are often in very bad conditions and are not getting paid that much. Another thing that is happening when these items are made is child labor, which is outlawed in the United States. There are some places in the world where rivers are filled with plastic. For the kids who live in these areas, this is all they have ever seen and think it is normal. Another negative effect on people that plastic can have is if a baby sucks or chews on plastic, that can make it so that later on in life they are more likely to get certain health issues. Overall, some cheap items that we buy can have lots of negative effects on people around the world. The final thing I will be talking about is what you can do to stop supporting these brands that are making cheap items and causing harm. There are lots of sustainable brands out there that pay people fair wages and use more sustainable materials to make their products, so starting to buy more products from companies like those would make a huge difference. Another thing that you could try to do is limit the amount of plastic that you buy. For example, buying the option that is packaged with less plastic will make a huge difference in the long run. Some people, though, will say that buying more sustainable options costs too much money. While I will not argue that the more sustainable option usually does cost more, I will say that more sustainable items will usually be better quality and longer lasting. Another reason that it shouldn't matter if these items are a little more expensive is when you are buying these products, they are doing good for the world and investing in making the earth a better place for the future. We have discussed some of the effects that cheap and unsustainable products can have on people around the world and what you can do to stop it. I'm not trying to say that you have to completely jump into buying zero plastic and buying all of your household items from sustainable brands, but you could just start by buying a few items from sustainable brands and working your way up. I hope that after reading this you are more informed about some of the bad things that go into some of our everyday items and that you can make the choice to start buying more sustainable items with less plastic and invest in the Earth's future. Number 1. On a scale of 1 to 5, how convincing were the presenter's arguments?
I give the presenter a 5.
I also gave the presenter a 5 on her arguments.
I also decided to give the presenter a 5 on her arguments.
Number 2. Which reason did the presenter give that you found the most convincing?
I was most convinced by the presenter's argument about how much of the plastic we buy ending up in the environment. That really made me want to stop buying as much plastic.
The most convincing argument that the presenter gave was the length of time that the plastic remains in our environment prior to decomposition.
For me, the argument that convinced me to think about my plastic consumption the most was the effects that it will have on the wildlife in the environments.
Number 3. Which reason was the least convincing?
I was not convinced that people would be willing to spend more money to buy sustainable brands.
I also think that the least convincing argument was the money issue with buying sustainable products.
For me, the argument that I was least agreeing with was that sustainable items most often cost more, because I've found quite a few that cost less than non-sustainable.
Number 4. What impressed you the most about the presenter's speech?
It impressed me that I could hear the speaker's passion about this subject in her speech.
What impressed me most about the presenter's speech was that there was a wide variety of information and it wasn't just a narrow view on the topic.
I was most impressed about the opinions that the speaker had, because I think about this topic often and really liked listening to somebody else's opinions too.